Anmarov, buongiorno, ¿cómo está? That's Spanish. ¿Cómo está? You see? How are you doing? It's been a wee while. I thought I'd give you a break. But I had a little glass of wine last night, and I thought I really need to talk to whoever listens about this wine because it's one of the world's most famous wines. But I think with a lot of what famous wines, there's sometimes a little bit of clarification is fun. The wine is the world famous Amarone, hence my Italian start. Amarone Della Valpolicella. There we go. I say one of the world's most famous wines. One of the world's kind of, although relatively recently, compared to say Chateauneuf du Pape, for example, Amarone's reputation, I believe, is more recent, relatively speaking. It only was granted the DOCG status, which is the Denominazione Originata Controllata Garantita. It's the kind of highest level of Italian wines. It only got that in 2009, so it's relatively recent that it's become particularly prestigious. Now, Valpolicella, which is the region where the wines are made, has three different types of wine. Amarone is the kind of top level, if you like, the richest, the most alcoholic, and by far the most expensive. Valpolicellas themselves are like a Beaujolais, very light, delicate, kind of fruity, food-friendly wines, but completely different from Amarone. But it's made with exactly the same grapes. I'll tell you the grapes because, Corvina, Rondinella and Molinara are the grapes that they make all the Valpolicellas with. Now, geography, where are we talking here? We're talking Veneto in east and northeast Italy. So if you imagine you've got Venice, you go west towards Lake Garda, you get the idea. Where they make the Amarones, these DOCG ones that I was drinking, is just a little bit east of Lake Garda, level with Venice, but so it gives you an idea. Amarone is, as I say, very alcoholic, usually about 15 to 15.5%. Very rich flavour. And they achieve that by a ripasso. Essentially, they dry the grapes. It's a traditional method. It's become a bit more sophisticated now. Essentially, they now kind of air dry them in special rooms, but traditionally, I think they used to dry them in the sun. So you get an before fermentation. So imagine you've got these kind of almost, you've got these grapes that have kind of dried up and the flavour's intensified. Then you do the regular fermentation. So you're starting up a kind of premise of an intensity and high alcohol, more flavour, etc., etc. That's essentially how Amarone is made, dried grapes. And I say what is interesting is that the exact same grapes are used to make Valpolicella. It's a completely different wine. This is a big one. Now, you've got that lovely kind of purpley colour there. See that? Very intense nose, very fruit-driven. Dark fruits and red berry fruits, actually. There's a sweetness as well, almost like a stewed or burnt fruit. Imagine kind of summer fruits that have had a little bit too much sun. Right. Man, that is smooth wine. The thing is, I don't normally like to drink wines at 15.5% alcohol, which is what this is. It's not really my thing, but it's so well made. It's so well made. There's an acidity and a balance there. So some Amarones, I find they can have, as I said, an almost a stewed fruit and intense that you get in old Riocas as well, which you can imagine basically the sun burning the grapes. I don't particularly like that. This one doesn't have it so much. But you can feel the alcohol on your palate. The tannins are relatively subtle, but it's a wine you can drink that on its own. You could have it after dinner, almost like a port. But I think if you're having this with dinner, you want to have it with any of the classic. I mean, northeast Italy, cheese, Parma ham country. But I think you want to have this with a meal, something like ossobuco, or beef with truffles. Sorry, my phone just went. Rossini, the Italian opera writer, invented a dish which has beef and truffles and brandy. My throat is literally burning with the alcohol. So yeah, I think beef. Excuse me, crikey, beef really with this, and maybe so as to say some truffles or something to match up the power and intensity of the wine. You need a rich dish. I wouldn't say lasagna or something because these wines are very expensive. I mean, you could have lasagna if you wanted, but I think something a little bit more. No, I mean lasagna is fine. A good flavored beef dish I think would be best with this because it's quite sweet. I don't think lamb on this would work quite so well. There's not enough spice in the wine for lamb. Let's go with some kind of beef. That's what I would do. Beef with truffle, very fancy. And that's it. I find Amarone acquired taste when 6 minutes already. This is a DOCG, as I said, it's a Classico. This is made of very, very specific part. When you see Classico in an Italian wine and DOCG, you basically know it's coming from a very specific part of Italy. Therefore, there's you're not guaranteed quality, but there's accountability there because of provenance. People know where you are, then you can't hide away. So if you are going for an Amarone, you've got to splash out a little bit. Buy a DOCG Classico, DOCG, if you can, because you'll get that step up in quality and the intensity, which I can find overpowering at times, will be balanced by the other aspects of the wine, which acidity and so on. This is a great wine. I mean, it's not the ideal time to drink it at 6 o'clock, so I'm going to leave it for later, but this is good stuff. Wow, okay. I was thinking, I thought I have to talk about this wine. It's going to be gone by probably tonight or tomorrow, so I needed to talk about a film as well. And the film I thought of, which I'm sure you know or you've heard of, and again, as I always say, if you haven't, then please check it out. I don't have the DVD. I had it once upon a time, but somebody once broke into my house and stole the DVD, so they had good taste. I don't think they knew they were stealing Cinema Paradiso, which is the film. Cinema Paradiso. Again, it's set in Sicily. It's a fascinating and kind of emblematic film. It's based around the interwar years, or is it the Second World War? Second World War. As a little guy, a young lad whose dad is essentially, it's inferred that his dad has died in the war. So he's with his mum, and his only real friend is the cinema projectionist, a guy called Alfredo, who's played actually by a French actor, even though it's an Italian film, the late great Philippe Noiret, a wonderful, wonderful actor who plays, in Italian, he plays the cinema projectionist who's the friend to this little lad. And so it's a film about relationships, about pain, about suffering, about changing circumstances, but it's essentially a film about film. The Cinema Paradiso in the film is a cinema where Alfredo works, and the relationship between him and Toto is tremendous, and he becomes an aficionado and the projectionist in time as well, as time moves on. I don't want to give the story away too much. It's a classic film. It's it's a combination of humour, of romance, of nostalgia, all of which old black and white movies are. Black and white cinema is incredibly nostalgic, incredibly romantic, I think. And there's some really, really powerful scenes using authentic films to help to tell the story. I've gone on for way too long. I've talked more about the wine today. Amarone Della Valpolicella and Cinema Paradiso. Get a copy of Cinema Paradiso. It's also got a classic, again, emblematic soundtrack by Ennio Morricone. Who else? You're in for a treat, I promise you. Amarone Della Valpolicella e Cinema Paradiso. E alla prossima. Arrivederci, ciao.